Oregon State. Oregon State wins 38-21 over Purdue. Jam Griffin rushed for 137 yards and a touchdown, leading Oregon State's strong ground game. Purdue struggled defensively, allowing 341 of Oregon State's 445 total yards on the ground. Nearly 350 yards they allowed on the ground. Card connected with tight end Max Blair for a 33-yard touchdown that cut the deficit to 14-17. That was good to see. However, McCoy led a drive that ended with a 29-yard field goal, and Purdue's defense continued to struggle as Oregon State scored another touchdown with a 26-yard sweep, extending the lead 24-7. There was really no looking back from there. The bright side for Purdue, Devin Mockabee rushed for 163 yards and a touchdown, but the Boilermakers couldn't recover from their early mistakes. I believe Mockabee also did have a fumble. That's something he needs to continue to try and clear up. Purdue must address these run defense issues as they head into Big Ten play. There are so many Big Ten teams that are excellent at running the ball. If they don't address these issues, Purdue might not win a game in the Big Ten, point blank. Yep. Zach, that's one of the big things. Is there anything else, or do you want to just comment on that needs to change and in a hurry for this Purdue team?
Yeah, well, I think run defense is at the top of the list. I think step 2 is fix everything else.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I think the biggest disappointment is Hudson Card. And I know he hasn't had time, but 57 yards passing.
Yeah.
He had a 33-yard touchdown pass to his tight end, which means he had 6 more completions for 24 yards.
Yikes.
I mean, that's, oh my gosh. I mean, that's abysmal. And everything is bad for Purdue right now. And they did not play a good team. Like, they played a average to below average Oregon State team, and they got worked.
I think some of it's the receivers. Purdue has had good receivers in the past. They lost Deion Burks. This past offseason. I think he's at Oklahoma now, which, he didn't go to a much better passing situation there. Jackson Arnold, not been what they hoped for. Didn't he get benched? Did he get benched in that game?
I didn't watch that game.
Okay. I think he may have. Anyway, I just heard he's not been doing great. But yeah, definitely the rush defense needs to be better, and the pass rush needs to be better too. You didn't see it nearly as much against Notre Dame because Notre Dame didn't pass as much, and Oregon State passed some, but obviously they weren't doing as much as they were rushing the ball. But still, when they drop back to pass, virtually no pressure. Purdue has got to get things figured out with their defensive line, and this was a team last year that was able to get pressure on the quarterback. Kydron Jenkins and Nick Scroton last year. Scroton is down at Texas A&M now. Kyron Jenkins is still there. The linebacker, missing his name, Will Held, I think it is. He's had some good pressure on the quarterback this season, but not in this game. So there needs to be some more consistent good pressure there. And at the end of the day, this is my final takeaway of the night, Zach, and it pains me to say because I've been rooting for him hard. I don't think Ryan Walters is the guy for Purdue.
Yeah, I hate to
move on.
Yeah, I hate to say it this early. I wonder if it's just not the right fit. Like, I don't think he's. But I think you're right. He's not
the right fit. But taking over, and Sean's pointing it out, Braum, right? Taking over for Braum. That is one heck of a turnaround.
Yeah.
With a team that doesn't have the recruiting success in the past to be able to turn around that fast, especially entering the Big Ten. They didn't enter the Big Ten, but this new Big Ten entering in and all that going on. That's wild.
Yeah. You need a guy at Purdue who's going to be an offensive innovator to kind of level the playing field, because you're not going to get the recruits there. It's going to be hard to get transfers there. That's not Ryan Walters. And I had high hopes for him this year. And
to me, it's kind of like Mississippi State, right? Mississippi State is never going to get the talent that other teams get down the SEC. They just don't recruit that way. But Purdue, they can get guys on their squad that are fast and good athletes, and they can scheme things up for them. So you get an offensive mind that is able to scheme guys into space, like we've seen Rondale Moore, Deion Burks. I mean, a number of guys that Jeff Braun was able to do that with.
David Bell,
right? I mean, you get these guys who are just electric with how fast they are, and you put the ball in their hand, they can make some special things happen. I, I just don't think you have the size of guys available to you in recruiting, and I don't think you have the consistency in recruiting to be able to go get guys in Indiana to be able to run a defensive minded Purdue team. At least not right now. Maybe things will change, but you got guys all around you that are doing that. You got Luke Fickle coming down to Ohio and getting those
Yeah.
guys. You got Brett Bielema eating those guys up from Chicago. You got Sharon Moore. You got Jonathan
Yeah.
Smith now, who's going to be going after those guys. Like, you have so many guys around you. Kirk Signetti is coming in, and he's going to be a dynamic recruiter, I believe, and Notre Dame too. Like, they are coming in. The leftovers for Purdue, you have to take high upside athletes and do something
Yeah.
with them. I
Yeah.
don't think you can build your team on the big nasties in the trenches, which stinks for Purdue, but until some things change there, I don't think they're going to be looking at Purdue nearly as much.
Yeah.
So
No, I think you're right.
over under, I guess not over under. Do you think Ryan Walters will be fired by the end of this year? Do you think he has next year too? What do you think?
I mean, I look at the schedule. I don't know if there's a win left. Like maybe
Yeah.
Northwestern. And even that, I'm like, I think I'd pick Northwestern by like I might pick Northwestern by double digits in that game.
Well, it is at home against Northwestern,
I
so
still
you have
might
that.
I still might pick Northwestern by double digits.
Maybe, yeah. But yeah, that's about the only game on there. If you get some good turnovers against Michigan State, you have a chance there. They've been pretty loose with the ball.
Yeah.
Wisconsin, but that's at Camp Randall. I don't think you're going to be able to go into Camp Randall and get that win. So,
Yeah.
John says, hire Drew Brees.
I don't know if I want Drew Brees coaching yet. He has no experience. But I
But
appreciate
just
the
the
sentiment.
optics of it, Zach. Come on, just
They
the
no,
optics
they
of it.
should get Drew Brees as athletic director.
Yeah,
That would
there you go.
be yeah.
Sean says you need to give a coach 4 recruiting classes. If they fire Walters this year or next, you will never get a good coach. I see what you're saying there. I think the hard part is just how long do you put up with the bad coach? Like, at a certain point, you do see that this is just not working out.
Yeah.
And I think in the transfer portal era, that is only made things quicker. So I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you, Sean. I think you make a good point, but I think that if you have some promise, that is able to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's been any promise for
I
Purdue.
I think my counterpoint, and I appreciate what you're saying, Sean. My counterpoint, Scott Frost,
Yeah,
because they gave him, I think, was it 4 years, 4.5 years, and they should have cut bait after 2020. Like it was just so clear that it was not working.
right. And I do think
And
like, oh, go ahead. Sorry, I thought you were done.
no, go ahead, go ahead.
I was gonna say like I do think that like Sean makes a good point. Like it's gonna be harder to hire a coach when you don't give him the 4 years. But I also think that the more you allow them to run the program into the ground, the harder it still is to hire
Yeah,
a coach. So it's almost like you pick your poison, right? Do I let them run the program into the ground and then it's harder to hire a head coach, or do I fire them early and then it's harder to hire a head coach because they think, "Oh, I could be out after 2 years there."
yeah.
It's a tough dilemma to
It's
be in
a it's
for sure.
yeah, you gotta weigh pros and cons because I think that is it's a really good thought.
Yeah.
Um, but I
And Sean
I
points out Nebraska is
yeah,
a more attractive job option, so
yeah,
it makes
that's
sense.
fair.
But
That's very
yeah,
fair.
it's an interesting conversation. I wish we had more time to talk about it.